a lot of the people here are, incoming students or at least thinking about joining the upcoming cohort. What is some advice you would give to some of the incoming students? Like, what are some of the things that, they should, either be thinking about, being prepared for, anything along that line? I'll start off with maybe Matt.
Just know that at one point you're going to hit a wall and you're going to pass it. Just know that there's a wall coming, you're going to hit it, and you're just going to go through it. I think it happens to like any alumni at some point. Sometime it's early, sometime it's late, but there's a point where you're like, I don't think I can. I don't think I can. And there's always somebody who's like, yes, you can. And you'll do it. We'll go through it, and you're going to pass that wall. And after that, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is great. This is the best thing. And yeah, I was glad there was people for me when I hit that wall and was like, my brain can't take it anymore. But you're going to have fun. It's a really, really, really nice road.
And when you say wall, Matt, if you don't mind me picking on that, can you kind of maybe just elaborate on that a little bit? Is it, is it the amount of information that's coming in so quickly? Is it maybe the concepts that kind of get a little challenging?
To me, it was like a language barrier. So we were doing Ruby, and for me, it was like, I can read it, I can't write it. And I got frustrated because I couldn't make it work. And I had some alumni from the basically Bravo class that was like, no, it happens to everybody. Just do your best, let it roll. At one point it's gonna click. And it did. And after that conversation, I was just like, I'm going to like challenge by challenge. I can do it, great. I can't, I'll do my best to understand it. And I'm gonna just go there. I'm not gonna force myself to absolutely finish that challenge. I'm gonna go to the point where it doesn't work anymore, but I'm gonna try to understand why it doesn't work and what I did before that. And from that point on, the class was just like, it was just like weight lifted from my shoulders.
Well, once you get over the wall, it sounds like easy street. Rob, is there anything you would like to, any advice you have for maybe incoming students or anybody interested?
I think that one of the things we talk about a lot is that there's some like basic study habits that not all of us have. I was a particularly bad student in like junior high and high school. I was mostly just messing around and passing time. And so like there are some like if you don't feel like you know how to take good notes, if you don't feel like you um, have a lot of experience in like being pushed or feeling that pressure of something that's really hard, that's totally okay, but it is worth taking a little time to work on that. And the reverse is true too. Like there's this feeling in school like you can't raise your hand unless you already know the answer. And programming just isn't like that. Like everything is very open-ended. We don't do any closed book exams because that's not what working is like, right? Like no one's going to be like, oh, you could have looked that up and saved 5 minutes, but unless you have it memorized, like we don't want to talk to you. Like that's just not how programming is done. You spend a lot of time reading, a lot of time looking things up, a lot of time Googling around, trying to find other people's solutions. And so like we want you to be versed in that in the classroom. So it can be a little jarring for folks that were really great at school and really great at studying because they feel like they have to know everything before the class day starts. And you'll drive yourself totally to exhaustion trying to do that and learn. It's just like that's not how this kind of learning goes. It's very much a like, okay, those words are words the first time, and then when we go over the second time, it's like, okay, those words have some sort of meaning now, and then it's the third or fourth time when they start to actually click together, and that can be really uncomfortable for folks in the beginning. But if you lean into that a little bit, you can find that it starts to really come more naturally. We talk a lot about imposter syndrome, like that feeling like you don't belong. I remember probably the third or fourth class, I was sitting eating my lunch one day, and some students were talking like in a room right next to me. And one of them goes, I just keep waiting for Rob or somebody to come and tap me on the shoulder and tell me I don't belong and that I need to leave. Right. And I think there are a lot of days at Learn that feel that way. And I'm a jerk. Like, I waited about 3 or 4 hours and walked over to him and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, can we go for a walk?" And talked through those feelings and talked about why that it wasn't going to happen and wasn't going to be a thing that, was going to be a real thing. And he told me at the end of it, he's like, "I was sure you were going to tell me that you were kicking me out of the class." I'm like, "No, like, that's not what this is about. Like, this is about a journey together that we're undertaking, and it's hard. Like, we call it a boot camp for a reason, but it's very much a thing that we get through together at this point over and over and over again, right? Like, we're 400 some odd students in, and like, we know that it's for you, it's still your first time, and that's hard.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rob. I will add, we are actually close to 500 now. So we are jumping up the ladder. Guerrero,
because I would normally be like, "Oh, we're 500 plus students and we're not quite at 500 yet." And so Chelsea gives me crap all the time for rounding up. I've been known to tell people that there are about 20 developers at Notch 8. There are 17, just in case anyone's carefully counting, and then one administrator, right? So, like, I just get in trouble for rounding up all the time. And for once, I wasn't doing it, and then TJ is going to give me crap for that.
my bad. Guerrero, just to kind of round this out, one of the things, you actually went through our remote program. So, kind of looking at it from, the remote perspective, is there any advice you might give to somebody who's coming into our remote program?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just try to build connection with your peers, because I know it's gonna be a lot harder doing it remotely and not in person, but it's gonna help you because you're gonna have somebody to talk to on those days, like Rob and Matt said, where you feel like you don't belong or you're not understanding it. You're not gonna be the only one. So it helps building those connections and having people to talk to, and so you just kind of vent. It's a little therapeutic. Just like I said, you guys are both going through it, so it helps having people to talk to, and then having them, just kind of pick you back up.